You're listening to 17 Carat K-Pop, the podcast that's a little bit of everything with a K-pop twist. From pop culture critiques to the history of K-pop to interviews with people in the K-pop industry and K-pop artists themselves, to concert and album reviews, to a deep dive into the discographies of different K-pop artists, to K-pop news updates, to stories about the music industry more broadly. This show tries to cover everything about K-pop and K-pop as it applies to the larger music and concert scenes. Visit 17caratkpop.weebly.com for more information about the show. That's 17caratkpop.weebly.com. Hello everybody and welcome back to 17 Carat K-Pop. Just a quick PSA, going forward I plan to start releasing 4 instead of 5 episodes a week. It'll feel just more manageable for me, and I think better to have quality over quantity of episodes, and so that will help with that too, to have enough time to put together some really quality episodes. So probably it'll always be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday that I will release new episodes. It may change a bit, but around 4 times a week, 5 if it's a super big news week, will be the new normal for me. I have a brand new framework for talking about the NCT universe, and I do have some of my old theories still that I haven't abandoned, but significant edits need to be made to them. I have my new and I think improved theories about their story, how it applies to other SM Entertainment artist stories, and more so today, it's not so much a theory as that framework, as I don't think intentionally SM Entertainment meant for their story to be interpreted this specific way. It's my specific interpretation, and I know that. I'm very much leaning into my tinfoil hat fandom level today. I want to release this disclaimer at the beginning of this episode because I know people will probably just laugh at me for this episode. So I just want to get it out there right away that I don't care. I'm just such a big N citizen, and as I write about on my site, shameless plug here, I think I called it Finding Joy and Comfort in NCT or something like that, and other posts and episodes I've made about NCT, you know that it's a group whose story means a lot to me, and I get really invested in it, and why? Judge me for that, because everyone has the thing they're super invested in and nerd out over, and for me, if it's dissecting NCT content, then so be it. Not hurting you, so leave me alone. In conclusion, leave me alone. That should be the name of this episode. Anyway, so I know my theories are super out there and wild, and people will call me obsessed, so I'm just putting it out there right away that I don't care. Now let's move on to my obsessiveness, apparently, and I'm going to just talk about my theories and how the different symbols in the NCT universe apply to different subunits by not talking about the story in chronological order like I've done before, but more based on each subunit and details they have shown in their videos that seem irrelevant at first on their face, but then when you tie everything together at the very end, it will all make sense with my framework. In the video for Chewing Gum, the boys are living in a boarding school environment or some other environment where they are all in a group dorm together. Their instructor says it's lights out, but the second after he leaves, one of them pulls out from under the bunk beds, a box of chewing gum that was probably not supposed to be there. It's their secret stash that they dig into. When the instructor finds out they have this, they tie him up with chewing gum so he is strapped to a chair and just has to watch the chaos unfold as the boys are just goofing off. One of them's riding a plastic pony. It is just a kid's birthday party run amok when all the instructors are no longer able to stop what's happening. Then the video ends where we see that one of the members still has the chewing gum that was contraband, but just hiding behind his back in his fist. My first and last, in school, and they're vying for the teacher's attention, so they try to make homemade race cars and things like that, to a mix of just goofing off because they're kids and wanting to impress her in a way, but it all ends where their efforts are laughed at and proven to be laughable because a man walks by their teacher's car and slaps a baby on board sticker on it, assuming that these kids that are following her are her kids and that she might want that sticker. In Wee Yun, the boys are in these green screen environments, very computer screensaver type layouts. They start as characters in the TV, and there's a 2D cartoon girl watching them from outside the TV. So it's kind of flipped from what you'd expect. They're not watching TV, they're the ones in the TV and who you would expect them to watch is watching them. They merge the worlds of viewer and viewee and go alongside journeys with this 2D girl. The boys go on just a bunch of cute adventures with her, and then they enter this environment full of clouds and all of these doorways, possibly pathways to new worlds, just surrounded by all these different doors. The video ends with the boys with their backs to the camera and they wave, the TV goes dark, and the video is over. We Go Up is the video where they unveil this new flag with an animal logo on it for the first time. Hae-chan stops to stare up at the sky and look at all of the rockets, and there are other scenes that are worth noting that you see here. Rockets and Mark looking at a fish tank and hourglasses, that would be another key symbol here. At one point, all of the members except Chunla seem like they're asleep as the hourglass runs out, but he's still awake. And lastly, there is a room where they are dancing, and you see in the air suspended above them is kind of that orb shape. There is some sort of orb, globe, something that rises above the environment NCT members are in sometimes, not just for NCT Dream, but that orb comes back in other NCT subunits work as well, so put a pin in that. In Candlelight, the whole plot is making a movie, so again, it's playing with what's real and what's not. How much are they in on this? How much are they breaking the fourth wall? And the whole plot of the video is the music video itself is kind of a film, so it's a film within a film within a film situation. In Go, what you need to remember is that this silver elevator / time machine, I've interpreted it to be the time machine in my theory, makes an appearance in that video. Also note that in that video, the boys get lit up sometimes, like neon lights glow around their silhouettes, and that flickers on and off. The scenes are really important to note from the video for Boom. One of the scenes is when they're by a red car, and the other is where they're on a little stage of sorts surrounded by all of these plants. I promise this will make sense eventually. There is a scene where a chandelier is, and it's more of a fancy palace. Ji-sun blows out a candle on a birthday cake. Some of the members kind of goof off and run around through an auditorium that is empty. Ride-In is the video where the red car is back, but this time it's just a toy-sized race car skittering around the floor. A lighter hits the ground at one point and triggers this flame imagery, and Hae-chan is seen waving around this light stick, lightsaber type thing, giant glow stick, whatever you want to call it. Lastly, in Deja Vu, Mark picks up a letter that is an invitation that says, "We've been waiting for you," and there is a competition for the best stage of 2020, so be sure to try to compete. Flips of the switch in that video cause those neon glitches, their neon lit up silhouettes again, and the other key details include balloons, and the party atmosphere is back, the graffiti walls, the carnivals. It's just, all of these videos are very jovial, very full of props that seem random but have this youth-like symbolism to them that is worth keeping in mind, and a lot of glitching in and out of the scene, like this is all some sort of dream. That is what I would keep in mind. NCT 127's story starts with Fire Truck, where they continue to wreak havoc on this girl's memories at every stage of her life. It starts where she's building a sandcastle in her backyard, and the boys enter the backyard and destroy the thing. Then flash forward, and the girl's in high school, and the boys run amok along the hallway. Then she's an office worker, and they show up and trash the office. Then she is a mom, and they show up and trash the kitchen scene where her family's trying to just have a nice dinner. Then flash forward, and she's seen as an elderly woman now, just sitting and reflecting on all of the chaos they caused throughout her life, and all the memories that left in their wake, good or bad, and you just see that it looks like the cycle's about to start over again, and that in her backyard, this elderly woman's backyard, there is a sandcastle, possibly there's a sandbox ready to go, and they may come back and start the cycle over again. In the video for Limitless, there are 3 key details to remember. There's a lot of fire and a lot of smoke. 2, there is a brief flash where we see an image of members in the screen of a small TV set. Not watching TV, in the TV. And 3, there is a back and forth between black and white imagery and colorized images. In the video for Cherry Bomb, there is a further blurring of 2D and 4D worlds. There is a mix of just reality and animation with a lot of cartoon animated elements on the screen throughout the video, a lot of comic book type graphics mixed with, of course, the actual NCT members. They are not cartoons in the video, so it mixes those. And at one point it seems like they're almost breaking the fourth wall by literally breaking the screen. That's what Haechan gets to do. There are flags flying in this video that are different from NCT Dream's flags. These ones come in yellow. There is a cloud in the sky in that video that is shaped like a star or a compass or something like that is supposed to guide their way. Thing to note is that Taeyeon is in this office alone and he looks like he's ruminating and plotting something. He's holding onto this toy airplane and he's got this airplane-shaped doorway to his office. Regular is when we see rockets shooting up into the sky. Remember, NCT Dream also showed rockets. That's the video where Win falls off the building, presumably on purpose. He just raises his arms outstretched and just falls backwards off the top city building. This is the video where the members are just drenched in jewels and riches and just living the fine life, but they're still just playing games in a cheap-looking arcade, so there's that. Haechan takes a minute yet again, like he did in NCT Dream, to stop and stare up at the sky at something. The video for Simon Says is when Taeyeon walks into this room and he takes this mask off his face and it's like a ski mask of sorts, drops it, and then that triggers the action. So once Taeyeon has entered the room, got his mask off, it's like permission has been given, so all the other members of this subunit enter the room finally. They end up marching in a circle around this doorway that is worth noting on. We'll get to that again later, but they walk around this symbolic doorway all in their masks, but at the very end, the members all drop their masks to the floor and step on them as they walk out. In the promotional images for Simon Says, Win has this sash that says Believer on it. He is a noteworthy character, as we've talked about before. So remember, he fell off the building intentionally in the last video, and then in this video, he's viewed as a believer of something. There's a lot of glitching and blurring of images throughout the video. There's part that looks like straight out of a Matrix type transition, a black hole setting among worlds, a room full of folding chairs. There's a lot in the actual just setting where they walk around the doorway that is worth noting, and not just the door frame itself, but that one wall is kind of a mirror but also reflective material more, so it's not really made of glass. There is an image of a car on the wall, but this one is blue, not red like in NCT Dream's world. And there's a glass box with a lot of sand in it. A lot of little TV sets are seen. In the video for Superhuman, this elevator/time machine structure of sorts looks like it changed shapes, but I would argue it's still the same elevator thing, and it is lit up. So around the edges you see the lit up glow stick type things that we saw earlier. We see clones of Doyeon, and presumably the other members have the ability in this video to clone themselves too. Haechan continues to be a key character who gets followed around by these black hooded figures. Taeyeon takes a moment to stop and look up at the sky, a recurring theme worth noting. There are lyrics about waking up your true self and revealing something inside you. And this is when we get a preview of a symbol that became a big part of the resonance era with the resonance rings, as I call them, a symbol of these interlocking hoops of sorts. Kick It is another video where Taeyeon is clearly controlling the action. The waves of his hands in the choreography are meant to keep everyone else in line, which has more meanings than one, not just literal, but that's what he does. He kind of controls the movements of the other members by his hand movements in that video. In the video for Boom, NCT 127's Boom song, which is a different one than NCT Dream's, Yuta is seen holding a birthday cake, again with that making a wish, blowing out a candle imagery. And in Punch, the members are on this square little stage in a boxing ring of sorts with the lyric "My show goes on," so clearly this whole boxing thing is part of their performance, and there are a lot of blurred images and glitching again. On to talking about Wavy. WayV's story starts with their version of Regular, which has a different music video but is the same song as Regular by NCT 127. In the WayV video for Regular, we see the ultimate example of a vision within a vision, a dream within a dream, or a world within a world, etc. Ten is seen dancing, and then the camera zooms out to reveal that he's not dancing in the actual scene, it's just a video playing on a cell phone that Kun walks in and steps on. Then he basically cracked Ten's image as he enters this plastic-covered room with a lot of plastic-covered furniture and stuff. Ten is then seen again in an empty auditorium, dancing on like nothing happened, and all the other members eventually join him. There is a black car scene at one point. Note the colors of the cars that I point out throughout this discussion. And we see a lot of shattered glass. In the video for Takeoff, Ten is spray painting all over a white car, vandalizing it. Win-Win is busy holding a remote control and controlling a fleet of black drones. There's an area full of graffiti that Ten walks into and his eyes glow green like he's now this evil character or something not human. There are a lot more glitches yet again, where one of the members gets these black wings that form behind him, these cartoonish wings, and this plane flies overhead of this dystopian environment the WayV members are in, which causes this CCTV-type footage to be seen of the members on a security camera. It's this bird's-eye view of the members being spied on by someone. Noteworthy details I caught in the video for Moonwalk. Clock hands, a bunch of rockets yet again, a bunch of mini rockets, smoke and fire, a car with busted windows, Win-Win swinging a baseball bat while standing on the hood of that white car from before with the busted windows, Lucas staring out at something up at the sky, using his glass as like a telescope of sorts. Ten throws his jacket up in the air and it just stays suspended there. There's also a moment where someone is seen upside down and Win-Win is right side up at the same time. A mirrored universe. There is a lot happening that is supernatural in this video. In Love Talk, that video, the key details are the rows of folding chairs are back yet again, and they're mostly empty, and Lucas and Ten are driving in a car somewhere together. Turn Back Time has a lot of obvious symbolism, even just from the title, but from the actual visuals, one member is in a room full of these cameras and TV screens. Kun is in this environment with a lot of broken glass, although some of the pieces of glass are levitating, so we still have levitation happening here. Win-Win is chained down, literally chained up. Lucas falls backwards, and when he does, he grows these blood-stained wings. Not like the 2D cartoon wings before, but these are more developed to look realistic. The members look like they're each given 2 pills because there are 14 pills shown total, and they try to break out of whatever they're trying to be forced into as lab rats or something. The table with the pills is something they try to get away from as they scan a card to try to trigger this escape from this apocalyptic world they are inside. At one point, Lucas and Ten are watching the chaos unfold on TV. They're in this room with TV sets lining the sides, and they're just facing each other at the table, like, what do we do now? In the Battle Live video, just note that Win-Win is seen upside down again, and we see a small red stage that they perform on, as opposed to spreading out more, they stay stuck to that stage. Dream Launch is a lighter video, but still telling for the story's sake. More rockets are seen. Also, another detail from NCT Dream's world that is here now is when Ten opens a closet and a piece of candy or gum falls out. Also note that the boys find this ladder, and the premise of the music video is they are trying to find a way to get to the rooftop and just gaze at the star. When they get up there, it's the ultimate plot twist, and they realize they're staring at planet Earth. So they're not on Earth, they must be somewhere else because they're watching and looking at Earth from their rooftop. NCTU's journey begins with the seventh sense. In that video, there is a flash of an image of Ten with broken something, maybe broken glass surrounding him. So Ten from WayV has brought this defying gravity, this levitating superpower of sorts into the NCTU world. Yesterday is a video where there are a lot of plants like there were in the Seventh Sense as well. I hope you're seeing the recurring symbols here. In Yesterday, it starts out black and white, but playing the arcade game is what leads to a bunch of color filling the room. And there are a lot of TV screens around the room that are worth noting. There's also a moment where it looks like they're in a giant fish tank. Winwin's character in both Without You and Boss is seen looking longingly out the window of a bus. Taeyeon is back to being in an office contemplating and plotting by himself in the video for Boss, and in that video we see the giant orb that I mentioned before start floating down through the ceiling of this empty auditorium. Well, it's mostly empty, but there is one person in the audience watching this show go on. Lucas is seen in this room full of plants again, and once again a WayV member has brought levitating into the NCTU world by, he basically tilts back so far in his chair, it's clearly defying gravity. Lucas starts off the action in the Make-A-Wish video with this red cloth behind his shoulders. At the very end, each of the members has this red cloth of their own and throws it above their head, and then they disappear behind it like magic. The teleportation is also in full force as we watch the members circle this pedestal of sorts where one by one the members pop up and pop out of the flame. It's kind of like a giant candle they're walking around. Almost like a giant candle from a birthday cake. Taeyeon also swings from the chandelier in this video. "It has begun the story like a movie" is a very noteworthy lyric from this that I want you to pay attention to. There are 3 solo releases from NCT members with music videos that have some symbols in them that tie into the larger NCT universe story. Ten's Dream in a Dream is one of those, which features this small stage he performs on, a small set of white stairs he sits on, lots of smoke, and this glass box. Then Ten's solo release New Heroes has more symbolism, where he's on the beach at one point, and then the other detail to note is he performs with this black veil, and that veil turns into like curtains of sorts hanging outside of a window of a room on top of a city building. Lastly, Taeyeon's video for Law and Flight features him taking a flight, but the camera zooms out at one point to reveal that this whole time it was just a movie scene or something he's filming. He's just filming as if he's riding on an airplane, but he's not actually flying anywhere. We also see in that video a chandelier and lots of plants again. All of the NCT members for that time came together for NCT 2018's release, and in that video for Black on Black, they were back in that white circular room where the orb was descending from the ceiling earlier. There's a lot to unpack from the NCT 2020 images that we've already talked about, so I'll just breeze through some quick reminders of details and images worth noting from the NCT 2020 promo videos. Glass boxes were seen, a rapid-fire montage of clips, the red car from the Riding NCT Dream video, that elevator/time machine thing again, several planets and moons, reflected images upside down, clones, Taeyeon controlling the action. When he claps his hands, that suddenly summons all the members and they fill up the previously empty bleachers. The picture frame, door frame, whatever you want to call it, that passage between worlds is back. And last detail to note, there is not a song lyric but a piece of dialogue within these promo videos that's worth noting. Life isn't always like the movies, even when we want it to be. For Resonance Part 2, NCT 2020's release, we talked at length about Part 1, but a little bit on Part 2 now. In those promo images, once again, the resonance rings, those Olympic ring style NCT, that imagery that is back again on these little green flags. We also see a toy science kit, toy cars, and other toy-sized things, plastic-covered toys, remote controls, boomboxes and speakers. They're also elevator-themed, time machine-themed, whatever you want to call that thing, promo images that show the elevator and different pairings of the members. They are surrounded by speakers, movie cameras, other things that you might presumably bring to a movie set. One of them also is a suitcase with a sticker on it that has that picture of what I'm calling the resonance rings. One of the images shows the members sitting in what look like a row of bus seats. One of those elevator images features a fancy dining table with a chandelier overhead. One of them has this mini keyboard by them next to a spray bottle that could also count as like a mini fire extinguisher, you could interpret. One of them is there with this reflective material in the elevator alongside them. Others are by little TV screens or computer screens. The latest music videos we have never talked about on the show yet because they're brand new from Resonance Part 2. The 90s Love video features some members playing a video game, and it's very retro, it's very 90s, naturally. It mixes these 3D-ish animated characters with the members, and it ends with Haechan spinning on this round table of sorts, spinning faster and faster and faster, sort of in this dark setting like the Matrix type black hole setting when fell down during Simon Says. And the Work It video picks up exactly where 90s Love left off, and now we're back into that setting at first where Haechan was seen spinning and spinning and spinning like he was transported somewhere. The main symbols, I'm not going to read my whole list, but I did put together a list of all of these symbols that are recurring and noteworthy, and they include the following: sheets and curtains, fish and a fish tank, beaches and the ocean, telescope, moons and other planets, rockets, toy rockets, planes, toy planes, etc. Lots of transportation, smoke and fire, an hourglass, sand, a clock, everything referencing time, glass, sometimes glass boxes, sometimes in the form of shattered glass, performing, references to a movie projectors, movie cameras, etc., or an actual small stage, an auditorium, rows of empty chairs, someone's waiting for a production of some sort to start. That doorway, that picture frame thing that they can walk through, or just actual doors in the door frame, little steps, sometimes step ladders that get right to the door frame or the other side of it, the orb thing that keeps descending, the resonance rings and their logo, the different flags used to represent different subunits, microphones, speakers, boomboxes, etc., the elevator/time machine thing, balloons, references to your birthday, birthday cake, candles, etc., rotating from black and white and color images, little TV screens or computer screens, a blurring of 2D or 3D or 4D worlds, and going back and forth between those, plastic covers on the furniture, riches and wealth, signs of wealth, candy, chewing gum, flowers, the ability to defy gravity or levitate or teleport, all these superpowers, a cityscape environment, sometimes flipped upside down, other moments where something is clearly not, it's supernatural in a way, it's glitching, it's some weird moment where you feel like you're living in a simulation. The glow sticks are just lit up bars that highlight some detail in this story. Plants filling the room, a carnival or theme park setting, something else just where the youth hang out. Wings going from 2D to more realistic looking wings on your back. So, I know this is one of my more out there theories, but that's what I do. I reach. And this is my ultimate reach, but I put together this list and guess how many symbols/Easter eggs I listed. 127. Remember the subunit name NCT 127? I am just throwing that possible connection out there that it may have been intentional, just something to ponder. So what? So what do all of these symbols mean? What is the point of me saying all of this? I'll explain it all and make it make sense after the break. My book recommendation of the day is a book by Heather McGhee called The Sum of Us: What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. It's a sociology book that will be out in mid-February, but you can pre-order it now, preferably from a small local bookstore that needs financial help right now, but wherever you can get this book, it's called The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee. The final sentence in the description of this book is really summative and key. With startling empathy, this heartfelt message from a Black woman to a multiracial America leaves us with a new vision for a future in which we finally realize that life can be more than zero-sum. Her book ultimately explores America and America's story in a way that points out how we view things as all or nothing, and how actually if we really stop and realize that when those who are the most oppressed win, everyone wins in a society. That is key. You're not losing anything when you give up something. It seems like that because of that zero-sum mentality we have, but suddenly when those most oppressed benefit, everyone benefits from their liberation, and that's what she dives into in this book. Now back to the show. Welcome back to the show. And again, this is not so much a theory about what SM Entertainment hoped to do with this group story, but my interpretation that I know is mostly just mine, not theorizing what they wanted it to mean, but what I personally use as a framework to understand the symbols as I see it. NCT's world focuses on, and in general the SM Entertainment world, because we've talked before at length about how all the artist stories are connected in some ways, can be thought of as 5 levels of existence, 5 realms of being, 5 types of being, 5 dimensions of what it means to be, to live in a certain environment, to exist. Level 1 or realm 1, it's not really levels because it's not higher than the other in any way, it's just they're all at the same level, but I'm just using that word for lack of a better word. Different planets. That is one element of existing that is looked at from different angles through these worlds. Different planets referring to sometimes literally, like Wavy, for example, when they suddenly see they're not on Earth like they thought. So actual outer space components here, thinking about other worlds, but also the thought of worlds within worlds. Because there are a lot of images of suddenly the car they were driving is now a toy car or something else where it's shrunken down. It's a mini version of something, and that is an indicator of some worlds within worlds. There are tiny worlds. It's a Horton Hears a Who type of nesting dolls game. Part 2, Category 2, whatever you want to say for it. Different levels of a soul's existence. So maybe the members are in heaven or hell, but different levels of a soul's existence, not just on regular Earth. Part 3, different levels of consciousness. Different levels of a dreamlike state you're in. Different levels of being aware of what you're doing. Level 4, different levels of realness. So sometimes it's just what you're doing. Other times, how much are you putting on an act? That's what that level deals with. Are you filming for a movie or TV show? Are you going to break the fourth wall? Are these staged productions like in a theater setting? Or is this just your unstaged normal life? And what does that even mean? And 5, the different dimensions of being in terms of actual dimensional elements. 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, etc. So looking big picture at SM Entertainment, the artists in the different planets / different sized worlds realm, Red Velvet deals with that world a lot, with their like the Sappy video where they're super tiny, or the video for Rookie where they are all like puppets on strings. There is just so much. Dum Dum, that's another video where the Red Velvet members are like toys on a conveyor belt or working a conveyor belt, but still. For the different levels of Soul's existence, that's mostly what Wavy deals with, which is why I theorize that Wavy is sometimes talked about quite distinct from NCT, even though it is a subunit of NCT. I think that's part of the storyline's sake too, because Wavy is kind of off on its own in that realm of existence, a totally like separate part of the NCT universe. Level 3 is definitely NCT, and so is level 4. I think they go between levels. But definitely for the different dimensions of being, as in 2D, 3D, etc., that is aespa now, the newest girl group from SM Entertainment, who have those avatar animated alter egos as key parts of their storyline. I think the groups with superpowers, the members have superpowers like in Super M, NCT, and XO, those members move throughout and among and between. They keep carrying on, traveling throughout the 5 different categories, so they aren't boxed into being defined to one of those levels. They go among them as they like because they can teleport there, they can travel there in some other way. The superpowers allow them to do that. A possible addition to consider for this theory is that maybe there are actually 7 levels of existence, 7 categories of being that are being addressed here. And instead of just the 5 levels, there are 7, because the number 7 is quite symbolic for NCT for obvious reasons, and the 7th Sense song is a reference here too. And the 6th level may be just like real life. Maybe normal life is considered its own thing. I was grouping it in with different levels of realness, but that could be its own category, just normal life outside of all of these different dimensions of thinking about it. And then maybe the 7th level is what is going to be introduced later on that NCT has not revealed yet. I took all of NCT's music videos so far and actually was able to quite easily categorize them based on these 5 main categories, and kind of also I broke them up and theorized about how they would fit into the 7 main categories if that's how we're going to look at this too. For the different planets or different worlds, I was looking at Dream Launch, of course, where the Wavy members saw the planet and realized they're not on Earth, and of course Moonwalk, riding, because that's where suddenly the red car is a toy, and the NCT 2020 background images that are the white background, where they feature all the little objects throughout the images. For the different levels of a soul's existence, I looked mostly at Turn Back Time, where the members seem to be taking one pill or the other, and there are a lot of references possibly to the seven sins in that video, and of course Highway to Heaven. For different levels of consciousness, obviously Daydream, Black on Black, Boss, Boom from NCT Dream, Work It, Make-A-Wish, all of the ones that have different elements of glitching in and out or phasing in and out, or a transition that feels like someone is breaking a fourth wall somewhere. Or Pandora's Box is another one. The titles kind of sometimes give it away. Regular, I thought Regular might be a mix of the soul's existence and the consciousness stuff, because Win-Win could have sacrificed his soul to the riches of the world, and that's the symbolism of him falling off the building in Regular. Or it could be more about just it's a dream and he never actually fell off the building. For the different levels of realness, I put all the ones that feature an auditorium or a big camera or some other indication it's being filmed and not real, it's staged. Bad Alive, Limitless, Punch, Chain, Candlelight, etc. For the different dimensions of being, I included everything that blurred the cartoon with the realistic, like Yes Today, Cherry Bomb, Deja Vu, 90s Love. With real life, I would put in there Chewing Gum, From Home, Misfit, Without You, Coming Home. And for the seventh sense, obviously that would be in category 7. Possibly NCT 2020's video for Resonance would also be viewed as entering the 7th tier here. And maybe Simon Says as well, because it had that big pivotal scene where Win-Win suddenly was sucked into that black hole of sorts. Tying it all together is the fact that this whole universe started its story with Fire Truck from NCT 127. That's where a lot of the action suddenly started unfolding and the pieces started fitting into place about what this all means. Because remember, Fire Truck followed the story of a lifetime and seemed to repeat itself. It went back to the beginning. And through all these images and stuff, through the promo videos for Resonance and everything, it all ended with Turn Back Time being seen as the last image on the screen. So it's like a time loop happening, and now suddenly we're back to square one again, and it's back to the next generation of rabble-rousers, or whatever you want to say about it. We've talked about all of these symbols individually and how they would fit into the 5 to 7 different realms. Now let's talk about how they apply to the different subunits. What's very telling is not just the symbols as they're applied to the subunits, but which ones they are not applied to, which ones are exclusive to one subunit. That gives key details away about the plot for those subunits. Wavy is the only subunit that has that security camera type footage watching them. They're being surveilled. They're the only subunit living in this apocalyptic gray city. They are the ones who have that full moon as one of their key symbols. Wavy is the only subunit that has some members grow wings, but that doesn't sound as angelic as it should. It starts out with the 2D wings and then the blood-stained angel wings. So clearly they're dealing with that heaven versus hell concept and the 7 sins and all that stuff we've already broken down. Lastly, the Wavy members are the only members in the only subunit to be featured flipped upside down in this way. Win-Win, Ten, and Kun each have a moment where they're upside down, and all 3 of the characters that are upside down at one point are key characters that we're going to talk more about later, so it seems very intentional that they are the ones that were upside down in pivotal moments in Wavy music videos. NCT 127 is the only subunit that features a symbol of a target, like for a dartboard, archery, etc., that kind of target is featured in a couple of NCT 127 videos, and that's it, implying that maybe this is all a game to them. There could be something there. They are also the only subunit to have that little metal character. I've nicknamed Mr. Metal. We've talked about him before when talking about the SM Entertainment universe as a whole, because he also made a cameo in Taemin's videos. NCT 2020 collectively had some symbols that should carry more weight than the other symbols because they were in the All the Subunits Coming Together album release. There were clones, flames, that doorway between worlds, that elevator/time machine thing. Interestingly, NCT uses a lot of transportation symbolism. Cars, planes, trains, helicopters, etc. But the only source of transportation that was a key part of NCT 2020 promo pictures and videos was an airplane. planes were the only transportation that was focused on. Which reminds me of the Cherry Bomb video, which merged the 2D animated elements and the breaking the screen literally and breaking the fourth wall moments. It really merged the physical world with the cartoon world more than almost any other video. And so breaking between dimensions feels like any symbolism from that video is worth reading into more than some of the other videos. And now we have that plane is back. The plane is also, of course, huge for the songs like Take Off and Law and Flight, the self-explanatory ones. Just something to keep an eye out on. NCT 2020 promo also focused on the clones and the resonance ring logo, as well as that doorway between dimensions and the elevator/time machine that took front and center stage for the promo pictures. The symbols that are featured for every subunit except for NCTU are notable because, remember, NCTU is always different. It has different configurations of members for different songs. It could be 2 members on a song, it could be 10 members on a song. NCTU is basically what they label a song from NCT members when it doesn't match the other subunit orders, when it's just a random mix of members from other subunits or whatever. It's a key, everything that is in NCTU videos can be inferred to have been brought over from a different subunit in a way. For example, 10 bringing in symbolism from Wavy into the NCTU part of the story and things like that. It's kind of like a portal of sorts, an intermediary between the subunits, and that's how Win went from being a part of NCT 127 really to turning into Wavy. That happened after he was involved in NCTU videos when he was dramatically staring out the bus window like he was traveling to that other subunit in a way. Every subunit except for NCTU has a big focus on birthday references, making a wish and getting older and just growing up. Dealing with the normal space-time continuum is what I've super extrapolated from that. All but NCTU focus on merging those 2D, 3D, 4D, etc. dimensions. They talk more about blurring dimensions and things like that. The other subunits focus on stages in the auditorium and performing a show. Sand and an hourglass tend to be symbols for those other subunits, but not NCTU. Any symbolism to do with the show, the fact that this is all performative and not real, authentic stuff happening, it's all just constructed and performed. And the thought that this is all an act, that concept, as well as the theme of just the time-space continuum and getting older and then a time loop, all of those key symbols that represent those themes are big for every unit except for the inconsistent unit of NCTU. The plants are a recurring symbol in different subunits' videos, and they're very interesting where they're placed for NCTU videos. The plants are by Lucas in the video for Boss, 10 in the video for The Seventh Sense, and Taeyeon in the video for Yesterday, or Yesterday as it's spelled. 10, Lucas, and Taeyeon. And we all know what those 3 have in common. They're all also members of the joint boy band that combines members from different groups, Super M. So then we could have a whole other conversation about how the NCT symbols actually, some of them allude to the Super M world and go beyond just the NCT universe further. And some of those include the plants, as well as the presence of an auditorium or a stage, the concept of putting on a show. Super M also shows levitation or just other superpowers, the transportation focus of some of their videos, the grand master plan that seems to be being carried out that is part of Super M's world as well. So it's all super noteworthy what the members of NCT who are also in Super M are pictured by and pictured doing. The videos where members are inside of the TV are Limitless, Weeun, and Turn Back Time. Limitless, Weeun, and Turn Back Time all have that theme going about the passage of time and a time loop and turning back time, of course. All of the subunits, except for Wavy, have a lot of glass symbolism. Glass boxes, glass walls or mirrors, things like that. Wavy has that too, but Wavy focuses on shattered glass, further emphasizing how Wavy is distinct from the other subunits as it is hell or some other dimension that is a torturous place to be. A few specific members who have roles that I want to focus on for this episode because they will hopefully help make sense, because I'm not sure I'm doing the best job yet at tying it all together, and hopefully the character guide will help. Let's start with Taeyeon, not just because he's my bias and I want to start with Taeyeon, but also because he is a real key character here. Remember, he is basically calling the shots and controlling the group, not just as the leader, just in real life, but in the story, in the music video universe, he is as well. He's the one who starts the action, he starts the cassette tape, he presses play on that in Switch. In Cherry Bomb, he's the one in the office contemplating what to do. He's also contemplating what to do in the office setting more than once. Like in the Boss video, he's back there. He has the toy plane he's holding up and things that, it's like he's holding up the toys. He's holding up the piece of the little universe. Like he's controlling the outer universe if we're looking at the world within a world, one smaller world within a bigger world within a bigger world theory. He's the member who jumps out the top window of room 127 during the regular video after they were just enjoying and reveling in their riches and stuff. He's the one who tried to bust out of there for who knows what reason. He's the one who starts the action in the Simon Says video by pulling off his mask, and then that sort of triggers everyone else to show up and eventually all take off their masks, their ski mask type gear that they're wearing, and step on them as they walk away. He's the one that swings from the chandelier in Make-A-Wish. He's the one whose hand movements in the choreography or just by clapping control the actions of the other members in Kick It and NCT 2020 content. In his Super M teaser video, there are clones of him, and he's sitting with his clones in that auditorium setting again, basically watching himself act out a role. So he's executing a lot of the action, but how much of that action is real life versus a movie set remains to be seen. Remember on Lawn Flight, he was quite the trickster at making you think he was actually flying, and then they zoom out and it turns out he was just putting on a big act. 10 is another key character who is in Super M, Wavy, and of course NCT as a whole. His solo release for New Heroes had that black veil symbolism, and he used it as like a curtain then hanging on the edge of that building, maybe a little nod to the morning after Win jumped off that city building. He's also the one who's seen by that pink plastic pony again in the NCT 2020 promo, and remember that pony was a part of the Chewing Gum NCT Dream story. That youthful energy is what he wants to be around. He's seen dancing alone, and then other members join him at times, which seems symbolic. And remember, at one point, 10 is the member who is dancing, and suddenly it zooms out, and you realize he's just doing that within a phone screen that gets stepped on. So he's like inside a world within a world, but he also tries to bust out of it, and he keeps trying to carve his own path. For Taeyeon, it's more like, how can he try to unite the whole group? And with 10, it's more like, how can he get out of the group he's in? He's kind of the divisive one here in trying to... He has this alter ego within him he's trying to control. Taeyeon is trying more to control the other members. 10 is really internally trying to control his own reactions to what's happening. And you see that in the takeoff video, his eyes glow green. It's like this evil beast within him to tame. He's spray painting all over the white car and things like that. His dynamics with Lucas are really interesting because they have these moments where they're driving in the car together, or they're just sitting across from each other watching action on TV unfold, or other scenes like that. Lucas is the character who stops to stare up at what's going on in the boss video. He also brought his levitating powers into the NCTU element of this world. He started the action in Make-A-Wish with that red cloth, and that led to everyone having that magical power to disappear and appear again behind the cloth. And he's the character who grew those blood-stained wings. So he's another character who is trying to break into and normalize his role in a world outside of Wavy, but he keeps getting pulled back in or can't run away from his sins forever. Mark is a key character because he's just all over the place in terms of what subunits he's in, and he's in Super M. And he's the one who kind of broke the screen, broke that fourth wall for Super M's world. Not in the NCT universe, but in the Super M universe, he's the one who broke the screen. He also is the one who picks up and reads that invitation for the video for Deja Vu. So he has some insider information about this time loop. And it's also key to note that in the NCT 2020 promo videos, Mark is the last person who gets screen time. Kind of a final moment is given to him, so his character seems worth keeping tabs on. Kun we have not talked about as a key character yet, but now I feel like that is happening for him in Wavy. He's the one who is sitting alone in the video for Love Talk, and in regular he's the one who steps on the phone and therefore cracks the image of 10 dancing. In the other video, which is part of the NCT 2020 promo video, list, he is standing in front of that frame, that door frame type thing that goes between worlds. He's also pictured by a plane that takes off overhead. In Turn Back Time, he's by this levitating wavy logo. He's also in this room with broken glass around him, some of it levitating. It's just what seems worth noting overall for his character is that his character is around broken glass or broken phone screens, around a lot of wreckage, and he is the one that walks through it literally, and then just sits there among those rows of chairs in the audience, like waiting for the show to start, but no one comes, and he's just there on his own. Win-Win is a key character because he's standing on that white car alone. He's pictured by that car in Wavy and Cherry Bomb videos. Remember, that's a key one that bridges divides between subunits. He's the one that fell off that building or jumped, however you interpret it, and then suddenly was like this messiah figure who wore that believer sash in Simon Says. He's also the one who seems to be traveling by bus to different dimensions, Boss and Without You, and he's just longingly gazing out the window a lot, contemplating a lot. He's got a somber character in this whole world. But he's sort of learning to basically become a master of his environment. He's got that baseball bat at one point, and he's causing destruction with it. He also tries to basically become the big guy by controlling the smaller world. He's got that fleet of drones and the remote control and stuff he's playing with, and so he's kind of literally toying with toys as trying to dominate his environment. And then there's Haechan, who is the one that keeps stopping to stare and look up at the sky like he's looking at that bigger world beyond his own world. He also breaks the screen during the Cherry Bomb video, again, key video. He is the one who is surrounded by microphones during Simon Says, like he's got something to say, and he's ready to kind of speak up and say, hey, here's what's happening, let's all be aware of what's happening. And now that he's getting suspicious, that's why in the Superhuman video he was followed by those black hooded figures. But he's still going to just push forward and not be intimidated. He shows that by swinging from that door frame in the NCT 2020 promo, and he continues to literally carry the torch for this cause. He's the one that keeps being shown holding up that light stick, that glow stick type thing, like it's his torch as he goes on this mission to inform everyone of what the status is of NCT. I saved my most out there, bizarre, bonkers theory for last, and then I will officially try to tie all of this together that we've talked about. I think this may be intentional, and I know this is a reach, but that's what I do. Taeyeon is the character who peeks through the metal fencing in the video for Limitless. Yuta is the character who peeks through the metal fencing during the NCT 2020 promo video. So Yuta looked through the fencing, and so did Taeyeon at different points. AKA YT, Yuta, and Taeyeon, TY, both look through that fencing. And if we're talking about a mirrored parallel universe, and now we have YT and TY trying to look through the same fencing to try to see the other side, I don't know, it could be there could be a look into the other world there, just something to think about. Anyway, let's sum all of this up now. My theories I'm going to distinguish from my framework. My theories are about what I actually do think NCT is trying to say and what SM Entertainment has set up as their storyline and their plots and all of that. Those are my theories, my actual theories. And then my framework is what I went into more today about here's how I'm choosing to break down and dissect the different parts of NCT and the SM Entertainment universe as a whole. Not what I think they actually meant to interpret it as. So let's start by talking about my theory. My theory are that there are several interlocking, related themes they're interrelated messages that are meant to be told through NCT's story. One element of that is that this is all kind of a dream within a dream, a movie within a movie, or a show within a movie within a dream. It's dealing with so many levels of consciousness versus unconsciousness, and ultimately about figuring out how to distinguish between illusion and reality. The members are able to, what is a plus and a negative is that they are able to travel between and among dimensions with superpowers. That's the second element. They have superpowers, that's just part of the story, part of the plot. And so that comes with, of course, positive and negative effects because they have that super ability, but that also comes with then they're further left feeling confused about their own reality, about what is actually real weight. am I in the dream world still or this other world? Because they can teleport back and forth so fast between the worlds, and they can bring elements of illusion into the world of reality or vice versa. And so they are doing the manipulation to themselves as they are trying to decipher the manipulation. Third element, this is about time travel. There's a lot of time travel here. I don't just get that from songs that are called things like Turn Back Time. But this all really does feel like a time loop. Remember, all the action started with Fire Truck, where we saw all the stages of life and how they wanted to inject some chaos and fun memories, fun to them, memories into that. And we continue to have symbolism regarding everything from, the changes of the astrology of the moment to sand running out of an hourglass indicating time is up, to literally turning back time, to using that time machine, to everything else you could think of regarding the passage of time and going back and then going forward again, all of that. So this is a mix of a story about time travel and why you would want to do that, if that actually clarifies anything for you or just complicates things. It also deals with the implications of having superpowers, good and bad, and with dreams versus reality. To get into more of the psychology about what I mean by that and how that actually is used by other K-pop groups, as well as a concept of how to distinguish between illusion and reality, I break that down in the episode called House of Cards, K-A-R-D-S. Just a quick PSA. I will consider it part of my larger SM entertainment theory that this all is worlds within worlds, Horton Hears a Who meets Inception type of situation here, where there are smaller worlds that these members are looking down on. And I think with Taemin being the leader of the Super M world, he is like in the outermost world. He's like, if we're zoomed into the very tiniest world in this nesting doll, zoom out more, and then there are different groups, and then keep zooming out, and at the very biggest level overseeing all of the other little layered worlds is Taemin controlling everything, because he's the one that's controlling the action in the Super M world, which we've already talked about at length. What's possible is that how it works, if you're looking at a diagram, and you saw in the center circle, you saw the little world referenced by the toy cars and the other toy elements of NCT Dream and other NCT units worlds. Zoom out a little more, and the circle surrounding that circle and engulfing it would be all of NCT's world, outside of the toys, the bigger world. And then you zoom out even more, you'd probably see Taeyeon controlling the action. Then zoom out more and you'd see Taemin controlling Taeyeon and the others. That's how I think the hierarchy is set up. Now here's the part where I'm going to address my framework more so than what I actually think they meant to have this world be interpreted through, but this is the lens I use to interpret it. When looking at this as something on a diagram, you would see not just some Venn diagram type things going on, an extreme Venn diagram of all these overlapping circles about the worlds within worlds, but also about which symbols apply to which subunits are dealing with which themes in their stories, all of that. So there are a lot of different ways to look at this world, but I think a few key details include the dynamics between a few of the members like Ten and Lucas, and how the members are turning against each other or abandoning each other like they did with Win-Win. The members are reaching out to each other to communicate, like stopping to stare up at a signal in the sky. How the members are stuck away from each other like trapped in glass. And where members' loyalties lie. Will Hae-chan turn on them and just give the hooded figures what they want? Will the members team up with that little metal guy, or will they turn away from him? Is he a hero or villain? Will the members make peace with their clones, or are their clones evil? Will they make clones of themselves in a feat of trying to help, or will that make things worse? They are trying to use their powers, some for better, some for worse, and you can try to figure out their motives by looking at certain key dynamics between characters and between and among the worlds that we're talking about. We've got the Souls level that we're talking about with Wavy dealing with hell, and then there are other environments they're trying to find their way to heaven, but it's not easy. We've got the different levels of being as an animated versus just your physical self. We've got the real world versus what's stage, what's a movie. How they use those tools to manipulate each other's sense of reality is a key detail. Whatever elements of and details of these videos you're looking at the end of the day, ultimately the message they are giving is that it's all around them, the indicators of the other worlds and stuff. They can unlock all these secrets. It's really all around them. Whether they're walking right past a mirror or other reflective wall, or walking by a toy car or something that would indicate, oh, look at this, you're actually not in the little world, you're in the big world now. And all those indicators of where they are what realm they're in are all there for them to understand. They just have to look. They really just have to open their eyes, as the song The Seven Sense, aptly titled here, indicates. Just open your eyes and then they can see what's going on here for real. NCT's world may sound like it gets repetitive as I keep talking about it, and that's the point. That the NCT members are getting closer and closer to the truth here. They're figuring out what this Grandmaster plan is, and maybe they will directly confront Taemin at some point and get to that largest breakthrough. Feel free to interpret their whole storyline as you wish. These are just my tools for better understanding the story. But they can be looked at from a gazillion different angles, which is some of the joy I get out of NCT content. Where we left off leaves a lot of questions, of course, and I'm not going to make any predictions about where the story goes from here because I really don't know. It could go in a lot of directions, which is part of the fun of it. For future releases, just try to keep in mind if you don't know what the meaning is, maybe try to apply my framework and see if you can better understand it through that. Thank you for listening. Really excited for the episode coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, and I will talk to you all soon.